Welcome to Legends Pod. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do.
Well, my name is Tyler Miller. I live in Minneapolis, and I play goalkeeper for Minnesota United. I've been here since January. It's been an interesting start to the year with the whole coronavirus quarantine, but so far I've been enjoying my time here.
Okay, so first let's start with the transition coming from LA to Minnesota, right? You're living in Minneapolis, is that what you said?
Yes.
So basically warm weather and cold.
Yeah.
Was that a big transition for you, or?
It was. I mean, the first day I got here, I landed in a blizzard. So, like, coming from LA in January where it's 65 degrees and sunny to landing in Minneapolis where it's 20 degrees and there's 10 inches of snow on the ground. I mean, it was a huge transition for me. Before I even came here, I didn't have a winter coat, so I had to go out and buy a winter coat.
Oh, damn.
Yep, you're going to need one of those there. That's
Hell yeah. And then you guys were what? When did this all happen? You guys were already in season, weren't you? Or like about to start?
That was in January. So it was like right as preseason was beginning. So I didn't have much time to really adjust to living in a cold culture before soccer got underway.
Okay.
So I had to adapt very, very fast.
And how was that? Like, what do you feel like prepared you to start playing, even though you couldn't play, obviously, because Corona?
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult because, like, being in LA is easy when our preseason is spent at home for the majority of the time. So, like, you have time to move into your apartment, you have time to get settled, versus here, we're in a cold culture, and so we have to travel for preseason. So in the span of about 2.5 months from when I got here to when the season started, or a month and a half, sorry, I was on the road for about 6 to 7 of those 8 weeks. So yeah, for preseason. So trying to find a place to live and find furniture and find a bed and all of these things, like these simple things, and have my movers drop off my furniture was a challenge. But somehow I made it work, and literally on my birthday was the day that they decided to postpone the season.
No way. On your birthday is when you guys found out the postponement was actually happening. Okay.
Yeah.
Were you guys prepared, or did you guys see that coming at all? Because NBA started it, correct? They were the first one to be like, okay, we have to stop.
NBA was the first one. MLS, there were rumors and rumblings of it leading into that second week of our season.
Yeah.
And we knew it was a possibility that we wouldn't play that weekend, but we ended up playing, and then we came back to Minnesota, thankfully, and 3 days later they told us, hey, like, we're going to postpone the third week and kind of wait and see what's going to happen. So it was kind of a weird situation because we knew it was a potential situation that we could be getting into, but we didn't exactly know the full extent of what would be happening.
Wow. Do you guys still even really understand what the full extent is? Because from a lot of different athletes that I've talked to, whether it was NBA, NFL, MLS, I mean, MLS being a big one that I know you guys were big time impacted. No one really knows where the seasons are going to go. No one really knows when they'll start. No one knows how it's going to impact it when it does start up again. Do you all play at the same time? Are all sports going to be running at the same time?
It's still like the most uncertain question that we have still to this day. I mean, it's like we talk about it every day with players and colleagues and staff all the time, but still it's something that really it just comes down to kind of what the government and what they think is safe. And right now, I mean, we're living as close to a normal life as we can. It's we don't have this structure of going to work every day and being training for 2 or 3 hours and then coming home and then going on with their day. It's kind of just like, okay, we're just a part of society right now, and we're trying to do our best part to be a part of society and help slow the spread of coronavirus.
Yeah,
Well, it's good you're doing your part.
Yeah.
And staying in. Well, with that being said, what's it called? I just lost my train of thought. So Sean, you can take it away.
So I'm just curious, and we ask everyone kind of a very similar question is, pending things do resume, given that you guys already started, it was just 1 week of the season?
2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks, okay. How long do you think it would have to be? Like, what kind of time frame do you guys need before you'd be ready to play like that next week, that next game?
Yeah. I mean, for us as athletes, we're obviously trained to be ready for whatever comes next. And so I think guys are in a situation where physically they're fit, but tactically it takes some time to
Sure.
get back into the rhythm of things and really train your body to be working in a setting that is conducive for your position. So like for me instantly, I play goalkeeper. So it's like I haven't been able to train goalkeeper as often as I have been during a season. So like I will need a solid 2 to 3 weeks before I'm ready to actually play in games. And I think it's the same for a lot of guys on our team. We need at least like 2 to 3 weeks where we're training as a team. We actually can work together and understand what we need to do to be ready to field a team that is ready. I mean, that's the reason we get 6 weeks of preseason.
Sure.
To prepare for that first week so that way we feel we're at our top form going into that game. So I think some version of that is necessary for us to be performing at our levels that are needed to play at this level.
Yeah, that they expect of you guys.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it seems pretty universal, like, across the board in a lot of sports. Obviously, there has to be some form of like training camp or, you need a couple weeks to kind of get going for a number of different reasons. So you were originally
no matter what sport you're in. I mean, basketball, NHL, like they only have a few weeks left in their season. I mean, you've got 32 games left in our season if we're to play all 34 games.
Right.
But like even those guys, they need some time to get back to practicing with their team.
Well, with that being said, did you see, I'm sure you did, that they have been talking to MLB players about doing a quarantine of all athletes that are supposed to be in season, which would make MLS also a part of that, where you guys would quarantine for those 3 months and you can't see your family, you can't go home, you guys are to quarantine and shelter together and play your games without fans. How would you feel playing a season in that kind of way? Your guys' what you guys do as a career is stressful. It's physical, it's stressful, it's demanding mentally and physically. So to ask, family men, dads, husbands, or just, everyday guys to stay away from society, do you see that happening at all? And how would that impact you mentally as an athlete, as a player, being away from everyone?
I think it's one of the hardest things to ask of an athlete. I mean, being on the road is difficult as is, and it's different in every sport. I mean, in baseball and basketball and other sports, they're on the road for a week or 2 at a time. In soccer, you're on the road for at most a week. Typically, our road schedule, you're on the road for 2 to 3 days. And so to ask a guy or a female, whoever it is in their respective sport, to be on the road for 6 weeks to 8 weeks, living in a hotel for that long, it's a very difficult lifestyle. And you're sacrificing so much time away from your family to play this sport. And yes, I understand how important sports are to this country and to the culture that we have here, but you have to understand the sacrifices that you're asking of each respective athlete and how difficult it is for these people to step away from their families. And certain guys, like on my team, they just had a new baby, and it's like, okay, you're gonna miss 2 months of your baby's life, and Yes, you'll be playing the sport you love and you'll be doing something that you've enjoyed since childhood, but you've also entered a new aspect and part of your life where it's like you may not get to see your child's first word or your child's first step. And it's like, okay, can you actually ask that person to step away from that and be okay with it? It's just a very difficult concept to wrap your mind around.
Sure.
Is
what about like the opportunity or the option of having no fans? What's kind of your stance on that? I mean,
no fans, I can understand, and I can kind of wrap my head around that a little bit more because it is the safest thing for everybody.
Sure.
But it's a difficult environment to play in because as athletes, we feed off of that kind of environment. We feed off of the fans that are at the games when we're away from home and they're talking to us. And it's kind of that energy that we thrive off of almost. And there's a reason that the home team wins 60% of the time, if not greater. It's because of the energy that the supporters and the fans bring. And so they make the atmosphere that we play in. I mean, that's the reason that we play. That's the reason that we're able to make money in this sport, because they show up and they want to see us play. We're an entertainment business at the end of the day, as all sports are. And so it's important to recognize that and understand that we don't make money if the fans don't come. And so it's hard to fathom a league where we're successful and fans aren't a part of it. But if it came down to it, I could see a half of a year playing without fans being something that is a realistic possibility. It would be a difficult environment to play in, but if that's what's asked of us, we are professionals and we are adaptable. And so I think that's something that we could all get used to.
Yeah. It's a really interesting dynamic, and one that I don't think anyone's obviously ever dealt with. So I think it's new to everyone, including the fans. Speaking of the fans, I know you were in Seattle, and then you were in LA, and now in Minnesota. I think Seattle, it's fair to say Seattle and LA are notorious for having very strong
Seattle Sounders
supporting groups.
Has like one of the biggest supporting. Like I think their fans might be crazier. It's tough to say between LAFC, which you guys have crazy fans. No offense, I hope they don't like come after me, but you guys have crazy fans. They're diehard fans, but so does Seattle. Diehard. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big Galaxy fan. It's not a secret. And the arena for Galaxy when Seattle Sounders would come to play, it was louder when they were there, and they would drive out, fly out, whatever it was. But Seattle Sounders always was guaranteed their fans were going to come with.
Yeah.
LAFC surprised everyone too. So that's a great question.
But I'd like to hear, I mean, because if I understand correctly, Minnesota's like a newer team to the MLS, right?
Yeah.
So how do those fans, I mean, obviously I'm sure it takes time to get those supporter groups to where they are, but what surprised you so far about the fans in Minnesota in your very brief stint?
I've been fortunate to play in three of the top supporting clubs around the MLS. I mean, Seattle, obviously, every game we get 45,000 plus, and then LAFC, it's only 3 years old, but still, it's already established itself as one of the top clubs in terms of supporters around the league. And then Minnesota United, I mean, they've got great support throughout. I went to a few appearances before this whole thing started, and I was unfortunate enough to not play a game at home, and so I didn't get to experience that atmosphere. But I can already tell that the people here love the team, and they're fully integrated into everything that's going on in the club, and they're very supportive of the players and the staff and the community. And it just makes me excited because I know like that first home game that I get to actually play here, I'm just excited because I know the feeling that it was like for me to play that first game in front of the Seattle Sounders, and then to have that first game in the Bank of California at LAFC. And so like I know that it'll be a warm welcome at Allianz Field and in front of the Minnesota Loons supporting staff here. So it's like it's such an exciting time for me because I'm itching to get back to actually playing and being around my buddies and getting that first experience of singing the Wonderwall after.
I was checking that out. It's actually awesome, man. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's unique. So what you're a goalkeeper, and I've had so many people ask me this when we were talking about you being on this segment. Talk to me about the mental approach to a penalty kick and what actually goes into this. It's one of the coolest things in soccer because there's not, a ton of them. But I think a lot of people would want to know from a goalkeeper what goes into this and what are you thinking at that time?
I mean, they say you have to be crazy to be a goalkeeper, and I would say that you have to be crazy to pick a position where, in a certain instance like this, the odds are stacked against you.
Right.
Where you are no doubt thought that you're going to lose. And you're the only person a lot of the times, besides your own teammates or your coach or anybody else in the stadium, that thinks you can succeed. And so going into this position, I mean, I don't really feel that much pressure because I know that the odds are stacked against me. The shooter is no doubt
has the upper hand,
expected to score.
Right.
So when I approach these, I'm just okay, I know the percentages. I know where this guy goes most often. Will he change it up? Potentially. It's a huge mind game. And so I try not to think into that too much. I try to just go with my instincts. And in that moment, it's okay, I want to go with his percentages or I don't want to go with percentages. It's kind of a guessing game.
Sure.
And nowadays, shooters are clever enough to watch the goalkeeper, see where the goalkeeper moves. And to be frank, I don't like to give away my tactics.
Yeah.
I talk about it. So I have my ways, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But the way I see it, if I can save 2 out of the 5 I'm going against at a PK shootout, I hope that my team can back me up in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With that being said, being a goalkeeper, obviously you have to go against really powerful players, At the end of the day, after they get through your entire team, that ball ends up in front of you. It's not a secret that Zlatan Ibrahimovic came into the MLS for 2 years, and not only did he come in and stir the pot with every team, talking so much shit to every single player that even challenged him, including Vela, which I'm going to say here, I think Vela is an amazing player. I think he is so talented. And Zlatan decided to go against him, talk shit on him, and I read an article today that he threatened to kill all the Galaxy players in the locker room. So, with that being said, I'm sure he is a force to be reckoned with. Do you feel that when he steps onto the field? You had to play against him his very first game that he played in the MLS, and he's 6 foot? How tall is he?
He's about 6'5", yeah.
How was that energy on the field for you as a goalkeeper, knowing that is your opponent now that you have to face against? And how is that feeling for your entire team?
He's a player that you have to respect, but you can't only focus on. Because the Galaxy had a ton of good players. They had a ton of people that could break us down. And yes, Zlatan was fortunate enough on those days to rise to the occasion to break us down. And he was able to find ways to be dangerous in those games. But at the same time, there were so many other players that contributed to that I think get left out, that it's almost unfair to them. I mean, he in soccer, one player does not make up one team. Carlos was an amazing player last year. I mean, everything that he did for us was inspiring, watching him break down 5 or 6 guys and then find a way to score a goal no matter what. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's one player of 11 players on the field. And so I think bringing it back to that team aspect, you can't just credit one guy for one team and say that they make up everything for that team, because what goes into it, I think, it's more about how the team responds around that guy. And with Carlos, everybody loved seeing him succeed.
Yeah.
With the Galaxy, I can't speak to what it was like playing with Zlatan. I don't know. But I can only speak to my personal experience with Carlos, and we loved seeing him succeed because it was such a amazing accomplishment. And for me personally, I watched Carlos while he was playing for Arsenal, and he was an awesome player there. Even though he didn't play that much, I got to see one game where he did play, and he did well. And immediately I was just like, this guy's awesome. And to come full circle and be playing with this guy 11 years later, I was like, this is such an inspiring moment in my career. And to be a part of that and everything that came with it last year was just a very exciting experience for me.
Absolutely. I will say, as a fan, every time I watched LAFC play, Carlos not only was a strong player, he played so well as a team player. I mean, he would pass that ball around to so many different, I mean, what's his name? Lee Nguyen. He allowed him to, every game I'd go to, I would notice him because Carlo was constantly handing the ball to him. Or to, I forgot a lot of their names, but it was never just him. It was the
okay. We understand you didn't really like our team. It's fine.
There's a reason. There's a reason behind it.
I respected your team. I still respect a lot of LAFC because, to be fair, you guys came in, and I do want to ask you about that too. You, I think, had an amazing career so far because Seattle Sounders, yes, great fan base, but you came into LAFC for 2 years, and it was their first 2 years in MLS in general, and you had a great team. That team was, you guys stood out because you guys played as a team. That's why you guys stood out. So yes, I was a little hater because you guys came in, and you guys came in like a freaking wrecking ball. Like, there was everyone knew who LAFC was. Celebrities were talking about it. Sports fans were talking about it. Other sports teams were talking about LAFC. It's like anywhere you go, you heard about LAFC. So I watched, and it was because you guys knew how to be a team.
Yeah. No, that's the first thing that I think our coach, Bob, really instructed on guys was how to get along as a team. And I think it's something that gets overlooked a lot of times. It's easy to see what's happening on the field, but off the field is something that's more sacred, and in the locker room is a very sacred place for a lot of players. And so if you have a good locker room, I think it translates into what you're able to do on the field. And we had a great locker room at LA for those 2 years. I can't speak to what it's like right now, but I know that the time that I was there, we really got on well in those times, and it made it an enjoyable experience going to practice, showing up at the locker room, and being a part of that team helped just with our success.
Right. So, kind of switching gears more towards Minnesota.
Yeah.
Because you haven't been there that long, has there been like a specific player or someone within the organization during this time that's kind of keeping tabs on everyone or just checking in, in that regard? I just, the LAFC, like, it sounds like the bond you guys had, I mean, that takes time, but, with kind of some new pieces in Minnesota, what's kind of the dynamic like with that organization?
We've had a good stretch of preseason in the first 2 weeks. I mean, I think guys were really competitive, and I think that every week it was difficult for Adrian, our head coach, to pick the 18 and the starting 11,
sure,
which is something you want from your club. You want guys that are competitive and fighting for weekend spots. But since this time, I mean, we've had weekly yoga sessions, we've had weekly breakfast meals together, and so guys have been doing a good job about staying in touch, which is rare to find when you come to a new club finding a team that's so connected so quickly. We've been able to build a good chemistry, and so it's something I hope to continue to build on this year, hopefully.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I have two questions. One, I've been asking a lot of our people that come on here, what was like your aha moment? Where was the moment where you're like, okay, like let's hope that soccer gets me to college, right? Let's hope that I can get through to college and get like some kind of scholarship or like get that experience. From that point on, did you see yourself being like, I can do this? I was like, where'd you go?
Sorry.
No, it's fine. But like, where was that moment where you were like, I think I could do this professionally?
I'd always felt like that kind of throughout my younger career. But I would say it wasn't until I was a freshman in college when I went to train with the Chicago Fire, and the Fire coach at the time is now the national team coach. And one of the goalkeepers there at the time was Sean Johnson, who's one of the national team goalkeepers as well. And there was just the day there that I was competing just as well as he was. And I was just like, like I can actually perform at this level and be competitive. And there's something to be said about stepping into a professional environment and there not being any drop off at all. And so I was like, okay, like I know that I'm capable of being at this level and performing well at this level, because it's easy to make it to the professional game, but it's hard to stay there. Which is something that my high school coach, who's from Liverpool, grew up in soccer, football in England, kind of told me all along, and I didn't grasp it until I actually made it to the professional ranks and realized how difficult it was to remain disciplined and remain involved and kind of just motivated throughout the entire process of being a pro.
That's awesome. I like that. And then my other question was, during the quarantine, obviously a lot of sports have been doing a lot more online gaming stuff.
Yeah.
NHL started doing it, and I saw that you posted something and you're involved in a charity gaming event. So I'd love to hear a little more about that. Kind of how can people support that? How can people tune in and, help raise awareness for the charity? But also, that's not your first charity that you've been involved. You've been very involved in charities in general since your MLS career started. So I'd love to hear kind of more about that.
Yes. So being involved in charity work in general has always been something that I've been very passionate about. I mean, ever since my family has been dealt the first kind of burden and diagnosis of dealing with cancer, it's been difficult. But I try to find the positives in it and find motivation of how I can help other families deal with this. So I've been doing my own beach soccer tournament every summer in Santa Monica to help kids through sport and through this foundation called the Austin Everett Foundation. And on Friday, April 24th, I'm doing a charity FIFA stream with the Professional Gamer in Minnesota, and it's going to be benefiting the Pinky Swear Foundation, who they help struggling families with financial and emotional support. And so any opportunity and avenue that I can have to support families in any way I can, I think it's something that is very important to me. And when I look back at my career, I don't really care if I have a bunch of accolades or a bunch of personal awards or trophies. I really just want to be remembered for supporting and helping families throughout my time as a player. And that's the most important thing for me.
Oh, that's so awesome. Is there a charity that you'd like to get more involved with that you haven't yet, or one that really stands out to you?
I'm very excited about the Pinky Swear Foundation. They treat every child that has cancer as an all-star, which I think is completely well earned, because every child that has cancer is an all-star because of all of the treatments that they have to go through and the daily grind, but just how you can step into a child's hospital, and they'll still be smiling. They'll still find ways to enjoy life, and being there and helping them in any way that you can, I think is amazing. And that's something that I really cherish, as well as my work with Austin Everett Foundation, because sports are very important to me. And so Austin Everett Foundation does a great job of incorporating sports and support of children with cancer wholeheartedly. And I just think it's a great organization to be a part of.
Wow.
That's awesome. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out for that, and that'll be this Friday.
Tomorrow.
This Friday.
Tomorrow, April 24th. All right, well, before we let you go, we have one question that we've been asking everyone.
Yeah.
What is the first thing you'd like to do once the stay-at-home order is lifted?
I've talked to a lot of people about this, and there are many answers. But to be honest, to be able to go to a bar and just sit down with my buddies and my friends and not have to worry about being in close contact. And to be honest, I saw my parents during this time, and I wasn't able to hug them or kiss them or anything. And so to be able to do that again is something that I'm very excited about.
Well, awesome. Do you have anything else, Sean?
No, that's fantastic, man. The stream for tomorrow, is that anyone can tune into that, or we just have to find the result after?
Yeah.
Oh, it's live stream.
Do it, and we'll be doing live donations, so anyone is encouraged to donate.
Awesome, man. Awesome.